Rational zero theorem. Rational zero theorem is a way of how you find the factor of a polynomial. Suppose px is a polynomial function with an integer coefficient, and x is equal to b over a is a 0 of px, where a and b are integers and a is not equal to 0. Then b is a factor of the constant term of px. A is a factor of the leading coefficient of px. Ax minus b is a factor of px. Steps for factoring. The first step you do is you put the factors of the constant over the factors of the leading coefficient. Then you plug in the numbers to test. After you plugged in the numbers to test, you then test those numbers.
So, to factor a polynomial that has a leading coefficient that is not 1, you're going to want to find the factors of the leading coefficient and the constant. So, factors of 2 and factors of -6. So factors of 2 are positive and -1 and positive and -2. You're going to want to make sure that you have both positives and negative numbers because they can both be used in your equation. Now, for 6, it's going to be positive and -1, positive and -2, positive and -3, and positive and -6. So you're going to want to divide your factors of your constant, so these ones, over your factors of your leading coefficient. So that means that in total, your factors will be positive and -1, positive and -2, positive and -3, positive and -6, and then you're going to have positive and -1 over 2 and positive and -3 over 2. Now you're going to want to plug these into as tests. So we're going to start with 1. Now you always want to start with whole numbers, not the fractions, because those are a lot easier to actually use for your synthetic division. So if you plug it into the equation, you get an answer of -18. Now, -18 is not equal to 0, which means that this number is not a factor. So 1, not going to work. Now, if you plug in something like -2, your answer will be a 0, which means that it is a factor. Now, because it's a factor, you're going to want to use it in for division. Sometimes there are multiple numbers that actually can get 0. That means that the number has multiple factors. It's not usually a big deal. So it actually equals 0, so that means that that is a factor. Now you're going to want to plug that into synthetic division, which is just set up using the number, not the factor. So the factor actually here would be x plus 2, or the root of -2. It's 0 there. And you're going to want to set this up using your equation. -13 and -6. Now at the end of this, you're going to want to get an answer of 0, because that means that you have no remainder and it is a factor. Now if you don't get a 0, that means that you either did your multiplication here wrong or you did the division here wrong. So just try that again, and if it still doesn't work, then try a different number. Now, when you plug it into your new equation to solve, you're actually going to want to use that factor that you found here in your equation and the newly factored thing here. So that would equal 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. And now once you're done factoring this using long factoring, you're going to get 3 answers, or 3 roots, and that means it's a cubic. So make sure that all your answers are actually cubics.
Integral zero theorem. X minus b is a factor of the polynomial p of x if and only if p of b is equal to 0. Similarly, ax minus b is a factor of p of x if and only if p of b over a is equal to 0. Integral zero theorem is essentially rational zero theorem when the leading coefficient is 1. Factors of the constant are the only factors you use for the test.